No one ever told you this, but your sexual energy is the source code of your life. And no, it has nothing to do with pleasure or pornography. Carl Jung discovered something that almost no one has understood to this day. Your libido is the force behind your creativity, your destiny, and even your spirituality. And if you keep wasting it in the same cycles, that's why your life feels stagnant, confused, or directionless. The truth is brutal. While you seek immediate pleasure, your soul is screaming for purpose. What you were told about desire, control, sin, or freedom, almost everything is distorted. And do you know why? Because no one profits from you being strong, conscious, and whole. It is much more convenient to keep you distracted, addicted, and empty. But now you will see the other side, the one that few have the courage to explore. Brace yourself, because what you're about to discover here may make you uncomfortable, but it may also awaken power you never knew you had. This video isn't about holding back desire. It's about harnessing the energy that can transform absolutely everything. And if you have the courage to face what Jung understood back then, your journey will never be the same after today. If you are just starting out with semen retention and want to learn how to practice it the right way, safely and with results, I have prepared an essential ebook for beginners. It is a direct, simple, and transformative step-by-step guide. The link is in the first pinned comment. 1. Sexual energy is the life force. Few people realize this, but sexual energy is much more than just lust or carnal desire. Carl Jung saw it as the very force of life. It is the spark that moves artists, scientists, lovers, and even those seeking spirituality. When you feel that creative urge, that desire to transform something, it is libido acting in a more subtle way. It is not just about sex, it is about the impulse that pushes you to create, to explore, to discover. Jung called this vital energy, and it changes everything when you understand it. Have you ever noticed how, after an intense phase of desire or passion, an absurd creativity emerges? Musicians compose their best songs, writers produce entire pages, entrepreneurs create unique solutions. This is no coincidence. What happens is that sexual energy, when well channeled, becomes fuel for your genius. Think of Nikola Tesla. He was celibate, and he credited his creativity to the mastery of sexual energy. This shows that there is a direct link between libido and fulfillment. The big trap is that most people waste this energy on fleeting pleasures, as if they had a treasure chest of gold and used it all to buy candy. When you understand that this energy can be directed towards building a richer life, in every sense, you stop wasting it. This energy is like electricity. It can light up your house or cause a fire. It depends on how you deal with it. The secret is not to deny it, but to master it. And dominating is not repressing. Repressing generates frustration, compulsion, and guilt. Dominating is recognizing that your libido is inside you, pulsing, offering you power, and consciously choosing where to put it. You can use this power to improve your health, your focus, your discipline. You can wake up earlier, meditate, learn something new, build a project that excites you. All of this fueled by the same power that, if misdirected, would only serve to scroll through your feed and seek instant pleasure. Jung understood that libido was like an undercurrent, always flowing, and if you don't dig the right channels, it will break where it's weakest. That's why so many well-intentioned people end up drowning in distractions, addictions, or toxic relationships. They fail to realize that the problem isn't wanting too much. It's not knowing what to do with all that energy. When this force is denied or ignored, it turns into chaos. This energy is also behind our deepest dreams. Do you know that desire to live with purpose? That desire to leave a legacy? All of these come from the same root. It is a heightened, refined, spiritualized libido. The problem is that society has taught us to associate it only with sexual pleasure. And so, many powerful people get lost, thinking they are sinning, when in fact they are just poorly channeling what could be sacred. In ancient myths, this energy was portrayed as fire. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to men, and that changed everything. Just like fire, sexual energy can forge tools or burn everything around it. It's up to you to know when to heat up and when to cool down. A practical exercise to start with is, notice where you put your energy when you feel desire. Can you direct it toward a workout, deep study, or intense writing? It's not about becoming a monk or denying your body. It's about upping your game. Instead of wasting your energy on distractions, you can put that energy toward your noblest goals. Have you ever heard of people who turn sexual fasting into mental clarity? That's exactly it. When you stop consuming, you realize that what you really want isn't the other person's body, it's the power it activates within you. This energy is what moves the world. It is in the eyes of those who have a mission, in the voice of those who speak with passion, in the gestures of those who act with intention. It is the same fire that moved Da Vinci, Gandhi, Frida Kahlo, and so many others. They all had something in common. They knew how to channel their libido beyond the obvious. This is what separates a genius from an addict, what he does with the strength he feels. And when you start using this energy consciously, something changes. You feel more whole, more powerful, more at peace. It's not about repressing desire, it's about using it as a lever for your awakening. Because the next step, my friend, is to understand what happens when this energy is repressed, and then things get serious. 2. What happens when you suppress your libido? When sexual energy is repressed, it doesn't disappear. It transforms. And not always for the better. Jung observed this in his consulting rooms. Men and women with anxiety attacks, silent addictions, emotional outbursts. All of this often came from a powerful energy that was pushed under the rug. And like all living things, this energy doesn't like to be ignored, it screams. Repressing your libido is like trying to lock a river in a closet. The pressure builds up until it finally bursts. It comes in the form of a compulsion to eat pornography, to seek approval from others. Or worse, it turns into apathy, that strange emptiness that many people feel even though they have it all. It's as if your soul is whispering, "You're denying me who I am." Jung called this modern neurosis. This repression is almost never conscious. It begins with guilt, fear, and shame. The person feels desire, but has learned that it is wrong, dirty, and mundane. And then he begins to fight with his own nature. This internal conflict drains his vitality. His face loses its shine, his body becomes tense, and his speech loses its presence. It is as if the being were divided inside. A classic example of this is hyper-religious people who deny their own bodies. Many live in a constant internal battle. It is no wonder that so many sexual scandals occur precisely in these environments. Repressed desire does not disappear. It becomes sick, hides, and distorts itself. And when it explodes, it is loaded with guilt, anger, and self-sabotage. When this energy is not accepted, it seeks unconscious outlets. Jung said that it slips into the shadows, that hidden side of the being that the person does not want to see. That is why, sometimes, someone who is super kind explodes out of nowhere. Or someone who is apparently spiritual has hidden destructive behaviors. The repressed libido takes revenge. And it does so in the most silent way possible, by sabotaging your relationships, your peace, and your clarity. Some people try to solve this problem by distracting themselves. They immerse themselves in TV series, overwork, drink alcohol, and social media. But all of this is just a band-aid. The wound remains open inside. And the worst part is that the person becomes increasingly insensitive. Less creative, less enthusiastic, less alive. Note, repressing libido kills spontaneity. And without it, the human being becomes a soulless machine. Want to know a sign that your libido is repressed? Lack of enthusiasm. That feeling that nothing tastes good, that everything is more of the same. This is not normal. It's your nervous system crying out for help. One way to break out of this cycle is to start observing yourself honestly. Journal. Ask yourself, what am I hiding from myself? Writing this down starts to break the ice inside you. Another point, the body feels it. Tension in the shoulders, jaw, hips. All of this is a reflection of energetic repression. A good start is to practice deep breathing exercises, such as the Wim Hof method, or yoga aimed at unblocking the pelvis. Small habits that reconnect you with your own center. It's not about freeing yourself sexually, but rather aligning yourself with your vital nature. Have you ever seen an animal ashamed of its own instinct? No, right? That's right. The shame of desire is a cultural construct, and it makes us sick. Of course, we are more than animals, we are conscious. But completely denying the basis of our energy is like trying to build a house without a foundation. It's unstable. And the bill always comes due, whether in the form of anguish, illness, or discouragement. The interesting thing is that when this energy is welcomed, it begins to transform. It leaves the shadows and enters consciousness. It's as if you were taming a dragon and using it to light up your life. But to do this, you need to stop running away and start looking with courage. Because that's when the process of transmutation begins. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Everything I'm explaining to you here, I explain more calmly in my ebook The Power of Semen Retention. It was made for those who are starting from scratch and want to know how to apply semen retention in their daily lives in a healthy way, without crazy things or exaggerations. It is a practical guide, straight to the point. 3. Sexual transmutation and the process of individuation. Sexual transmutation is an ancient secret, but it only makes sense when you understand what individuation is. Jung said that human beings were not born to be fragmented, but to become whole. And this only happens when they integrate their parts, including their sexual parts. Transmutation is not about stifling desire, it is about redirecting it. Taking this raw energy and taking it to a higher place. Creation, art, spirituality, purpose. Think of libido as a powerful river. You can let it run wild, flooding everything, or you can channel it to generate energy like an internal hydroelectric plant. This is what happens to those who practice transmutation. Sexual energy, instead of being consumed in an instant, becomes fuel for something greater. This is what happens to intense artists, visionary entrepreneurs, and even focused athletes. They have learned to conserve their fire and use it at the right time. In practice, how do you do this? First, by recognizing the impulse, without guilt, without denial. Then, by bringing attention to the body, to the moment, and directing the energy. This can be done through conscious breathing, meditation, fasting, and prayer. Even the simple habit of taking a cold shower can help, as it teaches the body to control immediate impulses and stay focused on the present. These are small gestures, but they build giants. Jung believed that the process of individuation involves understanding who you are, beyond the social masks. And libido, when transmuted, helps reveal this true self. Because it illuminates what you really want, not what you've been told you should want. It takes you out of autopilot. It makes you ask, what truly gives me pleasure? This question is dangerous, but it's also liberating. The process of individuation is like climbing a mountain, and libido is the energy that pushes you up the hill. However, if you don't know how to use it, you can trip over your own stones. Therefore, those who walk towards their own essence need to learn to sublimate. To sublimate is to transform impulse into a higher expression. Like Gandhi, who channeled his energy into nonviolence, or like Beethoven, who poured his libido into symphonies. Transmutation does not mean becoming an insensitive monk. Quite the opposite. It means feeling deeply, but choosing wisely. It means looking at a temptation and thinking, this energy can give me much more if I don't waste it now. It's like taking a bite and, instead of eating fast food, cooking a spiritual feast. Is it more work? Yes. But the taste of true fulfillment is incomparable. There are days when the urge screams. And in those moments, instead of fighting it, you can channel it. Write something profound. Go for a run. Pray intensely. Immerse yourself in a book like Man and His Symbols, by Jung, or The Power of Sexual Energy, by Mantak Chia. These habits are like arrows. They lead your libido to a target that transforms you. Each conscious choice is a brick in your inner temple. Many people think that libido is a young person's thing. But it's not. It's a living soul's thing. A transmuted libido keeps you pulsating at 20, 40, and 80. It's the difference between getting old and getting sick, between fading and maturing. When you learn to use it, you discover that time passes, but the flame remains. It's no longer about physical desire, it's about vibrant presence, personal magnetism, and a sparkle in the eye. And you know what's even more curious? The more you transmute, the more energy you have. It's a cycle of abundance. You stop depending on the outside to feel alive. And then something rare is born, energetic autonomy. You become your own spiritual charger. And you start to naturally move away from what drains you, what distracts you, what holds you back. Because now, you're busy becoming who you were born to be. But be careful, This journey awakens what Jung called the shadow. Because when you try to elevate yourself, you also bring to the surface everything that has been ignored or repressed. And if you are not ready to face it head-on, the process of transmutation can turn into self-sabotage. And it is about this shadow that we need to talk now. 4. The shadow, when sexual energy becomes dangerous. There is a side of libido that is very frightening. Jung called it the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche where we store everything we deny, hide, or don't want to see. When sexual energy is misunderstood or repressed, it drains into this unconscious basement. And there, it begins to deform. It doesn't disappear, it turns into obsession, manipulation, anger, emotional dependence. All of this is trapped libido, wanting to get out. The problem with the shadow is that it acts without warning. You think you have everything under control, until it explodes in a fit of jealousy, a relapse into addiction, or thoughts that you don't even recognize as yours. That's where the danger lies. The more you pretend it doesn't exist, the more power it gains. It starts to make decisions for you. Choosing destructive relationships, accepting crumbs, acting on impulse. All of this has to do with the poorly integrated sexual shadow. How many times have you seen someone who seems good, but suddenly takes extremely destructive actions? Sometimes it's a spiritual leader who gets involved in scandals, a therapist who abuses trust, or even a friend who betrays on impulse. These actions don't come out of the blue, they're shadows overflowing. Because if a person doesn't integrate their sexual energy, they become hostage to it. And eventually, they pay the price. The shadow also hides in attachment. Many people confuse passion with imprisonment. They become dependent on the other person, addicted to attention, touch, validation. This is an unresolved libido that clings to those who offer crumbs of affection. This is why some people cannot leave toxic relationships. Because, deep down, they are trapped by the energetic charge that this relationship activates. And this is addictive, more than a drug. Jung taught that the path to healing is to look at the shadow with courage. Not to judge it, but to understand it. Why does this desire dominate me? Why do I need that person's approval? What am I trying to compensate for with sex or affection? These questions are the key. A good exercise is to write down everything you feel, without filter, in a secret diary. This will already begin to illuminate the unconscious. You don't need to show it to anyone. You just need to be honest. Sexual energy only becomes dangerous when it is denied. When you recognize your impulses, you can begin to choose what to do with them. This is emotional maturity. It is what differentiates a conscious human being from an animal dominated by instinct. And this type of awareness protects you. It makes you say no to relationships that drain you, to pornography that numbs you, to decisions that throw you into a hole. The sexual shadow also appears in dreams. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you dream about scenes of desire, but that are filled with fear or guilt? This is your subconscious trying to get your attention. It's saying, there's something here that you need to see. Don't ignore it. Use these dreams as clues. Instead of waking up confused or feeling guilty, write down what you felt. Over time, you'll begin to identify patterns, and that's where the power of transformation comes in. There are people who only discover their shadow when they go through a crisis. They lose someone, suffer a betrayal, go through humiliation. These moments are invitations to look within. And if you accept them, you begin to see that the problem was never desire, but the fear of feeling it. The fear of being free, of being whole, of being true. The shadow is not your enemy. It is a strict but fair teacher. And when you listen, it stops screaming. Integrating the shadow is like taming a wild horse. At first, it will knock you down. But if you are patient, firm and respectful, it will become your best ally. And with this strength on your side, you can go further than you ever imagined. Sexual energy stops being a burden and becomes wings. But this only happens when you truly commit to your transformation. Because only after you face your shadow head-on, you begin to use that energy with purpose. And then, my friend, you discover a new world. A world where libido doesn't drag you down, it drives you. A world where you no longer seek approval, but connection with your essence. And that's when the real mission begins, channeling that strength toward your soul's purpose. 5. Channeling your energy towards your soul purpose. When Jung talked about channeling the libido into the soul's purpose, he wasn't being poetic, he was being direct. Sexual energy wasn't just made for pleasure, it was made for direction. It's the most potent fuel there is, and when you discover that you can use it to fulfill your mission, everything changes. You stop living for fleeting pleasures and start building something lasting. Something with a soul. With meaning. The first step is to know, what is your purpose? It doesn't have to be something grand in the eyes of others. It can be something simple, but profound. Creating art, healing people, teaching, writing, undertaking. What makes your heart vibrate? What makes you want to live? When you find this, you begin to realize that every drop of energy needs to go towards this path, and not be wasted on distractions. You know those moments when you have an uncontrollable desire? Use that energy spike as a lever. Instead of giving in automatically, stop. Breathe. Take that fire and put it into a project. Write, record, study, create. You'll be surprised at the productivity that springs forth. Many high-performance men swear that the days of greatest abstinence are the days of greatest focus. This isn't magic, it's conscious redirection. Libido, when channeled, connects you with an inexhaustible source of vitality. It's as if you discovered a power plant within you. And the most curious thing, the more you use it to serve your purpose, the more it multiplies. Fatigue diminishes, your eyes shine, your mind clears. You start to walk more upright, speak with more conviction, make decisions more firmly. It's as if your soul says, now we're on the right path. Want a practical example? Think of a young man who goes through a period of sexual withdrawal and decides to start training every day at 6 a.m. This discipline activates the body, organizes the mind, and strengthens the will. In a few months, he is no longer the same. And if this same young man uses this strength to learn a new skill, such as programming, music, meditation, entrepreneurship, he transforms his destiny. Channeling energy is not about suppressing it, it is about directing it with intention. It is not about turning your back on pleasure, but about choosing it consciously, without being dragged along by it. When you live in reactive mode, life pushes you. When you live with purpose, you pull life in the direction you want. This is the difference between surviving and living with soul. And sexual energy, well channeled, is the compass and the engine on this journey. Jung said that libido, when not repressed or wasted, turns into love, but not romantic love. Love for existence. For mission. For humanity. It's a feeling of expansion, of compassion, of service. You feel that you are here for a greater reason. And each choice begins to reflect that. You stop trying to fill the void and start overflowing. That's when everything aligns. And as contradictory as it may seem, it is at this moment that desires calm down. Because the satisfied soul no longer needs compensation. The body obeys when the spirit leads. And leading oneself is the greatest act of sovereignty that exists. Few do it. Few know how. But those who learn experience a freedom that the world does not understand. It is the freedom to be whole. Channeling libido toward purpose is like putting the right sails on a boat. The wind is already there. What's missing is direction. And that direction comes from self-knowledge. From the will to serve. From a commitment to something greater than oneself. This is living, embodied, practical spirituality. It's not self-help talk, it's a tool for transformation. And when this force starts working for you, everything around you changes. Opportunities arise, the right people appear, time yields, life gains pace. But only if you have the courage to take the helm. Because you already have the energy. Now the question is, will you let it dominate you, or will you use it to become who you were born to be? Do you want to start your journey with awareness and security? Then click on the first pinned comment now, purchase the ebook and take the first step towards your transformation. It's all there, clear, objective, and made for those who truly want to evolve. Now tell me, how many years of your life have you wasted without even knowing the power you had within you? How many times have you let desire decide for you? Or, even worse, let repression paralyze you? Sexual energy is not a problem, it is a bridge. And only those who have courage can cross it. Will you continue using this strength to lose yourself? Or will you start using it to find yourself? Will you continue feeding what empties you? Or will you finally nourish yourself with what strengthens you? The choice is yours. But one thing is certain, if you've come this far, it's because something inside you has already awakened. And there's no turning back. So tell me in the comments, in which area of your life do you feel that this energy most needs to be channeled? Creativity, relationships, life mission? Answer me. I want to know where this transformation will begin. And take advantage. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to continue diving into content that goes straight to the point, without beating around the bush. Because the truth sets you free. But only when you have the courage to look at it.